Jerrod has taken over Ring of Fire Radio from Farron Cousins. Of course, big part, one of the big reasons why I've been coming to this conference for now 10, 12 years, I think it is because I used to do Ring of Fire with Mike Papantonio and the guy who used to be Robert Kennedy Jr. And over the years, I've interviewed Fred Gray, who was Rosa Parks' attorney. I have interviewed public interest law firms. There's interesting cases and really interesting lawyers here. Some, who are real anti-corporate zealots and go after these corporations. Have seen a lot of really bad stuff, and from year to year, the cases change, but the intensity often remains the same. And so it's great to have you out here. When do you officially start on Ring of Fire?
So I officially start on November 1st. So everything's getting set up at the moment, and very, very excited.
And all right, so give me a little sense of your background. Well, before we get there, actually, so you were out in Portland.
Yes, I just was.
Tell us about that. When exactly were you out there?
So I was in Portland, I think about a few weeks ago now. And my followers actually on Instagram are the ones that asked me to go out there because, news was telling them 5 different stories of what was actually happening. And they wanted to know if there were actually, war-ravaged streets in Portland. So I definitely accepted the challenge and I flew out to Portland. And wow, I mean, being as someone who served 2 tours in Iraq when I was in the Marine Corps, this was probably the closest I've ever been to seeing something, I will say war ravaged, but I will clarify basically it was only that way because it seemed DHS and ICE wanted it to look that way. And that sounds very conspiracy theorist, but I get that. But everything that was being done on purpose. And actually, the one thing that was probably the craziest was the fact that there were around 4 to 5 right-wing, very popular, famous right-wing agitators that were showing up and just instigating and trying to start fights.
Okay, so you get out there, and give me a sense first of like how big of an area within Portland is any of this activity taking place? Like I'm saying, could I be in Portland and not know that any of this was happening?
You could be 4 or 5 blocks away and have no idea this was going on unless you walk towards the facility.
And so it's just around the facility.
It's a block at most.
Okay. All right.
It's a block at most.
And Portland's not a massive city, but it's a pretty big city.
It's a big city.
And so we're talking about 1 block of activity.
Yep.
Okay. So you walk up to that block. What do you see? Like a guy in a banana suit?
Yeah, well, actually a guy in a chicken suit. He's pretty famous. He's there all the time.
I'm familiar with the chicken suit.
Very nice man. You'll see many different inflatable animals that are just dancing around, having a good time. You will have protesters that are using their First Amendment right to scream.
Are they inflated with some type of explosive gas?
No.
Okay.
Just the air around them.
I'm trying to do due diligence here.
It's actually funny because it's not funny, but it's terrible. Actually, most of them are probably filled with pepper air because of the amount of pepper bullets that are being shot. That's being shoved right into those suits, and those people are inhaling basically constantly that, which from what I understand, based on limited research, can cause cancer and other diseases in the future. Right. But no, nothing explosive.
Okay, so you go up there. How many people were you there at night, though?
I was there until 4 in.the morning sometimes.
Okay,
I stuck around.
I heard it got really hairy at night.
Yeah, we've even had a Molotov cocktail thrown at us at night. Yeah, and someone attempted to basically light the tent area where the protesters were staying on fire while they were sleeping.
Wait a second. So someone throws a Molotov cocktail at you and someone tries to, why would protesters light their own tent on fire?
They wouldn't at all. No, this is literally their home. Some of them have been there for over 120 days. They'll maybe go home every once in a while or to somebody else's house to shower. Some of these people even sold their homes so they can actually be out there protesting to get rid of ICE and to stop the kidnappings that are happening all through their city.
So if the protesters didn't light their own tent on fire, did they throw the Molotov cocktail at themselves?
No.
So the Molotov cocktail was not thrown by protesters at ICE.
No.
Somebody threw it at the and who? And did you have a sense of who?
No, unfortunately not. So that actually happened a half hour after I left that night. Things got increasingly worse, which is why I started staying later in the evenings, including almost getting run over. And I have videotape of people in cars that were literally doing circles and coming around and trying to hit you with their cars. And no, these were not protesters. These were people that, did not agree with the fact that people are out, exercising their First Amendment right to let the government know that they're not okay with what's happening. And I don't know if they're being paid or what it is, but it certainly seemed probably.
Was that reported in even the local press?
I think one channel hit. It was sent to me by one channel. Somebody sent me a video of somebody. One channel I think did hit on it, but it didn't do very well. So no, I mean, the only people that were there were Fox. And Fox didn't really go live on the air until one of the right-winged social media influencers was able to incite something, and then they would run over to the camera and the host.
Sorter guy. What is that?
So
guy's
Nick
name?
Sorter was arrested days before I got there, and Nick Sorter was not there when I was there. There were other prevalent individuals that were there. That were also being allowed into the ICE facility and on the rooftops with the ICE agents while they were shooting at everybody, including myself. And they were videotaping it while obviously having laughs and smiles with the ICE agents. This is one thing that killed me when I was there. They were having a ball. I was really hoping that these ICE agents were like following orders, even though, not that it makes it better, but not necessarily enjoying what they're doing. The amount of laughs, high fives, and everything that I saw on those rooftops with these ICE agents and the smiles, the smirky attitudes that they were giving people really showed me how close we really are to the 1930s. I mean, you talk to people and they, that had family in the Holocaust and everything else, and they mention how these German soldiers were acting. And I was just really hoping that they were doing this against their will because they needed to provide for their family. They were filming it. They were putting it on social media. They were having a great time. It was really heartbreaking actually to see. It was really heartbreaking because they're not throwing rocks at ICE agents. They're not doing anything they're not supposed to be doing. They're literally, they're screaming. That's protected.
The protesters, right?
100%. And
that's so. And you've got ICE guys. So the idea is, these are not guys who are not happy about this. These ICE operatives are just thugs who have finally had the shackles taken off them,
100%.
and they have the opportunity now to fire whatever it is, pepper balls or tear gas at people, and they're loving it.
They loved it.
Okay, let's turn from there and go to D.C. You were there for the days that DC was federalized. This is when the cops, the city cops, were essentially augmented with some weird collection of federal corrections officers, ICE, FBI, probably DEA, ATF, and they were all of a sudden beat cops.
Yeah.
Walking around.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh man, that was really my first experience with seeing civil liberties being stripped from people in plain sight, and something I didn't think I would see personally. But even a woman being told she was going to be taken to jail with her 3-year-old daughter on the street because she refused to identify herself to a Metropolitan Police officer. And once that police officer saw me filming, they actually turned around and walked away. Situations like that. Or, a gentleman who was pulled over in the middle of the night. I was just on the right street on the right time. It was probably around 1:30 or 2 in the morning. And he had a expired license. And I heard, and this is just what I heard, and people around me heard it as well, he was a DACA recipient. So he was here legally. He was totally supposed to be here. He was still had 15 agents that were manhandling him and cuffing him and throwing him into the back of a unmarked vehicle and taken away. And these things were insane. And then just the overall fear that was it really put into perspective when I was carrying an M16 in Iraq, in these towns and these cities with just civilians that had nothing to do with anything that was happening. Like I was in a pizza place at like 1:30 in the morning because I didn't eat all day because I was literally just running through DC and getting as much on camera as possible. And an ATF agent, FBI agent, a DEA agent, and I think it was 2 DEA agents walked in with M4 style assault rifles just at the 45 degrees. And there was a woman, this woman that was sitting there trying to enjoy her food, who literally just started having like panic attacks. Like she was triggered by it in such a way where she was crying and everything. And I walked up to these police officers, federal agents, and I was like, you need to lower your weapons. Like this is not, you're ordering a pizza. What are you doing? Like just drop your weapons, point them at the floor. There's no reason for you to be at a 45-degree angle waiting for somebody to come out of the back room and start shooting at you. And this woman was just like literally like convulsing. She was like so scared of this. So they instilled so much fear in the DC area. And I'll tell you right now, I was out. So as soon as they announced it, we booked a flight and I left. So I was there from the very beginning. And I'll tell you right now, I stayed in a very sketchy place because I wanted to make sure my money could go farther while I was there.
Right.
And I didn't have any I was outside of a nightclub that had 4 vehicles out there from 6 p.m. until 3 in the morning, just trying to scare the locals that were just trying to go to the club and have a good time. And I talked to even security professionals that were there. I even talked to a few FBI agents. I had asked probably like 50 before one would talk to me. And even they were like, well, this is very highly unnecessary, but we're doing what we're told to do. And we're trying to be as, gentle as we can be, which he said that, but what I saw otherwise was not the fact. It was horrible.
I imagine amongst those people, there are some that realize like, I'm just got to do this because it's my job. And others who are like, this is a great time for me to go and crack heads in a way that I never had the opportunity to do so. It's funny you say that about the 45-degree angle because Brian back in the office, also a vet, and he's always talking about like, these guys don't seem to even have a clue as how to hold their weapens.
No, it's really
and
interesting.
Have you noticed that? I mean, as a former Marine, like have you noticed that?
I did. I mean, look, a 45-degree angle, holding a assault rifle at a 45-degree angle. I mean, my rules of engagement in Iraq were if they break 45, that is intent to cause harm or kill. So if they break 45, do what you have to do. So the fact that somebody's walking around town at a 45-degree angle is not okay. They can leave it slung facing down. That's totally different. But no, I don't think these people truly understand. First of all, I think they're completely removed from the situation that's around them. They're being told something and they're being fed this narrative. We've seen several videos online where ICE officers are arguing with, their sergeant or whoever about, protesting is a constitutionally protected activity. And then they'll shut them down and say, no, this is not right. Do your jobs, do what you're supposed to do, or basically get out. You know what I mean? It's a really tough place to be. And I'll be honest with you, it was a lot for me to take in. Those 2 trips especially were, after Portland, I don't think I posted for 2 days.
Really?
I did not post for 2 days. I called my therapist up and everything. And I was like, I just need to kind of run through everything that happened because what I saw was, one event, Sam, that sounds a little more conspiracy theorist, but it's like I witnessed it in real time, was there was an order for the National Guard, I believe it was the Texas National Guard, to come into Portland. That got shut down by a judge. And then 2 hours later, 2 DJI drones flew out of the ICE facility. One went down one street, one went down another street.
DJI?
Oh, like the brand of like the drones everybody buys. Sorry. And then 2 ICE officers with, like 4K cameras on gimbals come out in plain clothes. And everybody's just wondering what's going on here. And this video is on my Instagram. It's insane. But about 70 to 80 ICE officers came out, fully battle ready, gas masks, everything. and basically pushed everybody back 2 to 3 blocks in 2 different directions and fired 400 to 500 rounds of pepper bullets and rubber bullets and flashbangs and smoke and tear gas and all of that over. They spread it out to about 4 blocks and then just decided, okay, let's bring everybody back in, and slowly retreated back inside after they got all their footage. And then that footage went live on the DHS Twitter, on X. And then President Trump then said, okay, cool, we'll send the California National Guard in instead. And then that got blocked as well. It seemed as if he got told no, and then he created this 4 to 5 city block just covered in smoke and explosions.
I think
and gunfire.
Merkley has talked about this like fake riot, essentially, they were trying to create.
And I was on the ground, and I have that entire thing on film. It was so intense.
And what was so difficult for you to get over? Did you have like were you a little bit, I mean, I imagine there was some idealism in your joining the military in the first place.
There was. I took an oath. I 100% took an oath when I joined the Marine Corps that I feel is more important now than it ever was before. And this is my way of contributing to keeping democracy alive and keeping this experiment in this country going. And my way, I don't want to be the person that's asked 20 years from now that when these people were just trying to make a better life for themselves and they were being kidnapped in the middle of the night and thrown into trucks and sent to places they've never been, did you do anything? I don't want to be the person that says no. I want to at least be able to tell my kids, hey, look, I stepped up. I went and did what I thought was best for me, and that was starting my Instagram, my TikTok, and my YouTube. I joined Ring of Fire to make sure I can speak to a broader audience, and did what I could to help people in this country, whether they were here legally, illegally, as long as they were trying to do something better for themselves and for, I mean, God, how much money did immigrants put into our federal system?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And so.
Well, I think what we're going to see out of ICE is it's going to expand. And it's not just going to be geared towards immigrants. It's not going to be geared towards legal residents. It's going to be geared towards everybody. They're going to have a lot of guns. There's going to be a lot of these thugs. And Donald Trump does not want to lose elections.
Nope.
So maybe those kids will not even be allowed to ask you that question.
That's true. I mean, no, I hope that's not. I mean, I hope not. But.
I half joke, but I do think that on some level, like when you start to see what they're able to, right now, 9 months out from Donald Trump taking power, the absolute and real dollars growth in ICE, the growth in their capacity to feel they have power and have no accountability, where we will be, and the rate of acceleration of these things, where we'll be 9 months from now, it's a pretty scary thought. But
very much so.
Congratulations, Jerrod. I really think that you're going to do great on Ring of Fire.
Thank you. Thank you. Very excited.
That type of perspective, having gone out onto the streets and seeing this stuff, I think lends we hear about this, but for you to actually be out there seeing it, I think it's pretty impressive and good work. Where can people find that footage on your Instagram?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Jerrod Zisser. It's a JerrodZisser. It's the Take with Jerrod Zisser. That is actually pinned to the very top of that one incident I spoke of where they were trying to show a war zone is pinned right on top.
It is impressive how they go out there with their dongles. I mean, you do production, but they're out there making a movie every day.
They're making a movie.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And then any ads you're seeing or commercials that they're promoting to join ICE, that is from the Portland facility. I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of LA in there, a little bit of Chicago, but most of that is the Portland facility.
Wow. All right, Jerrod, I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.